And this is Big YouTube for Little Eric. Probably it's not going to be a long stream. I need to go to the store. But those are nice and clean now. Let's see through them. But I wanted to start streaming basically because I've been stuck in like this cycle of do nothing but like look at different YouTube channels, like watch a little bit of video, change video, maybe play the piano a little bit. I need to move forward on the day, accomplish something of some sort. And I do need to go into town because we need multiple things from the store. If But it's also the case that we could, in theory, not go all the way to the store. Actually, I guess we could, in theory, not go out to it. There's nothing I desperately need, but we're out of coffee, and I'm, almost out of cigarettes. So, regardless, there are some things I could do around here that would be worth doing. You want to ask me a question? Go for it. You were not the only one here, but it just started like a minute and 55 seconds ago, and you're the only one currently chatting. You go ahead and ask me whatever you'd like. It's like I used to tell my debaters. You don't need to inform people they're going to ask them a question or get their permission. You just ask the question. They have no obligation to answer, so it's always fine to ask the question. So, okay, things that I might do while I'm streaming to facilitate the doing of them. I could continue cleaning off this driveway of leaves. I did the top part up there, and I burned the leaves over there because that's how we're supposed to do it around here. And but look at this part of the driveway. So many leaves. Yeah, it is an 8th slot thing. It's like I don't know if it's 8th slot SE exclusively, but it is an SE thing where if I feel stuck in a do nothing state of being, then I'll live stream and figure then whatever it is I'm doing, it's really something that I'm talking about rather than actually doing. Even though I am doing it because in order to talk about it, I have to do it. But if there's no audience, go ahead. Discuss whatever you'd like with me. That's what I'm here for. Sometimes if you're trying to be thoughtful, you can mention the subject of inquiry so the person can decide whether it's something they're open to talking about before you say more or ask a question. Yeah, I mean, it's true that in theory there are some questions that might be rude, presumptuous, invasive, or whatever, but that's not really a world in which I operate. Yeah, it's like I assume that people are gonna say whatever they're gonna say, ask whatever they're gonna ask, and it's up to me to know what I want to answer. In general, I'm happy to answer pretty much any question because I have that kind of relationship with information and words, right? Like, I'm not of the mindset that anyone really benefits from privacy, secrecy. Play hangpan. I don't know what that is. I don't know what hangpan is. I'm happier with questions than with demands, suggestions, advice, or imperatives. Yeah, well, that's true. There's only three kinds of sentences, ultimately: questions, commands, and statements. Kind of crazy to think that all the things that we say are made up of just questions, commands, and statements. So yeah, I could not go to Florida. It's possible. I have enough cigarette butts that I'm fine. Or I could just go to Boot Jack, unsolicited opinions. No, I'm not suspicious of people who are privacy obsessed. I just think that they've got weak intuition about that. Like they may be themselves very intuitive in general, like they might be an intuitive type or whatever, but I see obsession with privacy as being an example of bad intuition because for one thing, it's like I spend so much time and energy trying to get people to know information about me. And it's incredibly difficult, right? Like people are not going, I get like trying to keep your financial stuff private so you don't get robbed, shit like that. But you know, the actual risk of of things that can happen if you don't have all of your mass private is very low. Like it's easy to find my address or phone number and stuff. I put my phone number up on the internet a lot, and anybody could find my address. So what? Like I could find some random person's address too. Yeah, about NI intuition. When I talk about intuition, I mean NI. Extroverted intuition is called intuition, but it's something else. Yeah, split it up into parts. It's a good idea. Raghab Agarwal. Good morning. You seem, let's see, young would be one thing I could say. I would like to know more about you without seeming as being nosy. Yeah, that's whatever. Thanks, Deadwood class. Appreciate it. It's going fine. I never typed Rachel ENFP. I typed her ENFJ. I was wrong, but I was with Spacey, which made me less effective because ultimately I'm better off setting people by myself. Thank you, Rag Have Agarwal. So the day is going fine. I kind of just got up and kind of rolled into the day, and then all of a sudden, it was 1 o'clock before I knew it, and I haven't accomplished anything. I did call the the auto shop to see if they got the part yet, and they have not. Tell me about your funniest encounter. I don't know what. I don't think of myself having funny encounters, right? Like I have funny observations, things. I make funny jokes sometimes, but you see Rob Reiner as well. I've heard about it. It's always uncomfortable hanging out with a friend that's whipped. Who's the friend that's whipped? With my career, I was a competition debate coach. Eric, do you think intentions matter, like having good or even righteous intentions versus negative ones, or are you more logical about it, like action result matters? No, intention matters, but it's like it only matters in one direction, right? Like there are some things where it's necessary for the person to be well intentioned as well as correct by the rules or something. But it's never the case that being well intentioned is adequate to determine the status of a given action, right? Like it's well intentioned is a necessary but insufficient condition for some kinds of engagements. You need to know that the person you're dealing with, and that they're dealing with you in good faith, right? But the problem arises when people think that being well intentioned is enough, is both necessary and sufficient to make determinations, because most of the worst things in history were done by well intentioned people. I didn't say whipped Spacey. I don't think. I think you said with Spacey, but this denture fills up the behind my teeth and makes it harder for me to talk. Intention matters for your continuous relationship with that person taking action. Yeah, well, like I said, for lots of for relationships, it's necessary that you be around people who are well intentioned. But it's good for you as a person, right? Like internally to go forward with good intent. Yeah, of course. Intention matters a lot, right? It's the difference between lying and being wrong or making a mistake. I don't know what happened to Spacey. He went off with that crazy bitch and then got with some other crazy bitch and all. I don't know. Hi, Cameron, if I didn't say hi already. So I was hoping Ahmed would follow up on what he wanted to talk about, but I guess it was too much text to put. Women can make us do wild things. Well, that's true, sort of, but it's like I've been the guy who had the terrible girlfriend who didn't treat him well, etc. when I was with Kimberly. But even so, I I understood where my boundaries were and tried to defend them as best I could, right? Like the reason I ended up leaving that relationship ultimately was because it made me so absolutely mind-bogglingly mad all the time. Because I was operating in good faith and she was broken and could not. That's BPD for you. I was well intentioned and doing the best I could to be a good relationship partner, to model good relationship behavior as well. And it did absolutely no good whatsoever. Hello, Revenant. What's happening here? Well, I'm standing outside. Gonna smoke a cigarette here in a second. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the afternoon besides just fiddle around with stuff as I was doing before to no particular end. So I decided to live stream because at least when I'm talking, like right now, I feel like I'm doing something that's much more productive, even though I'm not doing anything productive at all, than what I was doing before, which was like just just webbing, internet surfing, mostly. I did fuck around on the piano for a while too, keyboard. Not really to any good effect though. I don't feel like I. Well, I guess I got better at the keyboards. I am still improving at a good rate on the piano. One thing you find out is that the other has to be on the same vibe or frequency, and you don't get like rewarded. Hate to put it that way, but you know what I mean. A negative toxic person won't have much use or respond well to good-hearted people. Right. Well, and it's not even necessarily like they're ill-intentioned. I believe that Kimberly, you know, ex- her conscious expressed thoughts were that she didn't want to destroy that relationship. Um, but it's like it's very difficult to be in a healthy relationship where you have to correct the other person all the time. Criticize them because they're so horrible. When you were with Kimberly, I shared that Kara and I had find my friends on our phones. She gave me such a look when I said that. She said she didn't want that with Eric, made me think. Yeah, she probably was cheating on me. Who do I follow on YouTube? Um, well, I watch a number of different people on YouTube. I like to watch a lot of YouTube, but currently I was watching some gambling YouTubers, Bretsky and Bluff. I watch both of them sometimes, and I watched a video by Adam earlier. He's this, I think, INFP who lives in the Bay Area. And I watched some like stuff about baseball, like John Boy Media. Baseball doesn't exist. I like Isaac Punts. He does football stuff. I'm planning to make cognitive function content because in my country it's really rare and I understand it pretty well. So is it a real career? It's a fun thing to do for YouTube. I mean, the thing is, if I applied myself properly as a YouTuber, if I treated the channel as a way to generate typing sessions and as a way to generate money and structured it so that I treated it like a job, then I could probably make enough money given my financial situation that that would be all I would need to do. But I've never been able to apply myself in that fashion, have that kind of consistency or self discipline or singular focus. Mostly I do this. I just live stream, and so it it can be uh, an actual viable career option for, and it is for other YouTubers who do it. I think I'm sure there are some cognitive function people who are able to make enough money off their content slash whatever product they're selling, that they don't have to have another job. But keep in mind that I've been steadily YouTubing for at least a decade, like putting up shit tons of content for at least a decade. I still only have less than 20,000 subs. Thing is, it's a real skill as well. It's not necessarily easy to make content that lots of people want to watch, and it's even harder to do so consistently while making different things, right? Not just about money. Is it useful? Is it useful to be on YouTube? It is for me. YouTube's like a critical component in my mental health, etc. And it's a huge part of my social life, hanging out with people on the live stream. I said, loop is going to continue. Anyway, taking action doesn't break it because typically you eventually go back to loop. If you think of trying to break it, sometimes it sounds impossible. Is typology useful? Well, the thing is, typology is correct. It's a correct explanation of things. Whether or not that's useful depends more on who's holding that correct explanation. I find in my observations that typology is most useful to people who are least correct about it. But, you know, are there new names in the cock and punching game? I don't really think so. I don't really know though because I don't watch that kind of content. Have you ever watched What the Hales? I've never heard of it. So no, I've never watched it. I did when I first got to YouTube a long time ago. I watched a decent amount of typology content because I was still learning about it. But I wasn't very impressed with what I saw in general. Hi, Popovich. I did watch an interesting video the other day about quantized, like about how electrons, we talk about them as having orbits, but there's actually no experimental data for orbits per se. It's just a convenient way of understanding it. Because, of course, when you get down to the quantum level, that's the whole idea why it's called quantum, is because things get quantized. Like, instead of a little push pushes out a little bit and a big push pushes out a lot, it's like it pushes nothing until it pushes it all, right? And of course, the, I guess, meta frame of that video, why I was watching, kind of implied meta frame was, can't we determine things without falling into this trap of the inertial observer and making things relativistic? You know, made me think about how people love determinism so much. Like they don't want, for some reason, life itself to be a critical component in anything. It's weird. It seems to me pretty clear that I don't know if observation comprises a force per se, but that it functions like one. And the thing is, I don't know. I get annoyed by certain kinds of explanations that I think are like missing the elephant in the room, Like, yeah, the capacity to measure things is subject to the implicit limits of what measurement is. I really don't like it when people say things like, all the world is math. Like, those are just symbols you're using to deal with quantities. It's not, just because math is capable of describing certain things in the universe doesn't mean that the universe is built on math, right? It's putting the cart before the horse. We can also describe those same things in regular words, but nobody seems to say all of the universe is predicated on words. How to make an ENP forgive me for blocking them for no reason several times? They'll probably just forgive you about it, and or it probably won't go around anymore because they think you might do it again or something. I don't know. Well, INFJs, if you are an INFJ, they don't necessarily have a great sense of their subjectivities, right? Usually they're better about what's important to them than they are about their own experience, but it is true that INFJs and ENTPs both are likely to make mistakes in their life on things that require skills in their subjectivities, their feelings, etc. All human life is significant. I run into issues with society as it is because you're judged on your utility or job. I think we have valued a sensitive human being living with other humans, basic respect. I agree with you here, Alana. I mean, I am also not somebody who thinks a person's worth is based on their utility at all. If I were such a person, I would never be married to an INFJ. I probably would be anyway, but because I'm so historically bad at picking partners. But this partner turned out to be a good partner. Um, yeah, INFJs, they're not going to be the most useful people in the world usually. They've got a weak relationship with extroverted sensing, so they can only do so much. But it's conscious, but their TE polar really hamstrings them. And that's where the idea of a person's value linking to their utility comes from. It's a TE value. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's going to understand and forgive a mistake when the other party is, taking ownership of it, it's an ENTP, because if you are an INFJ, I can tell you, you make a fraction of the mistakes that ENTPs do. I used to have this motto on the channel until reality forced me to reassess it, that everybody deserves infinite second chances. But, of course, after the second chance, they're no longer second chances. They're third, fourth, fifth chances, etc. Trouble? What do you want, mister? You just want to be near me all the time. You just want my love. What a silly boy. Yes, you're a silly boy. You're a silly boy, very silly boy. He just wants to be like right there all the time. I don't really like it because he's underfoot, as they say. But I also, he's more persistent about coming back here than I am about kicking him away. Sometimes when it's down here, I'll put up the foot thing on the chair just so I have a reason to make him move. But even though he's a hassle sometimes, and he's a dick to his sister, and he meows at me incessantly, life is so much richer for having our cats. You know, Rachel and I, we have each other up here, not a whole lot more than that. But we also have our cats. Makes it feel like kind of a full family, as opposed to just a couple of intuitors lost in the woods. Yes, you're a good boy, and Daddy knows. And Daddy loves. Yes, he does. It's true. I'm not lying this time. I noticed you talk to your cats in a similar tone and playfulness that my ESFJ wife does. Well, I would suspect I learned it from my ISFJ mom, who also talked to the cats like that. Might be a alpha quadrant thing. Is that an INFJ attitude, or am I maybe another type? Um, I mean, I have no way of knowing what type you are at all. There's no way I can type somebody in the chat, or just from indications like that. But INFJs have a love-hate relationship with people, kind of. They, I mean, they don't really like people that much, even though that's not how they're typically described. But Rachel's very much she's like kind of persnickety about her time and energy, you know. And neither she nor I does a good job of uh, the sensory aspects of life. In other words, having predictable amounts of energy and enthusiasm in advance. It's kind of hard to live like that, but we do. Hello, I'm new here. Well, hello there, new here. Let me see what your name is. I still can't see it because these glasses are dirty. Where's my other glasses? All right, fine then. Where's my keyboard? How difficult does everything have to be? Fine. Ryuki Floppa, that's your name. Ryuki Floppa. So I went to the casino the other night. Maybe it was Saturday night. And I won. I won $700. I started with 300, left with 1,000. Pretty good. No, I don't actually talk with famous people. But you know, in some sense, maybe I do, because aren't we all really deep down inside famous? You're famous to somebody. Maybe your mom, but still. Did I meet a hooker? No, I don't. I don't think, not that I know of. I may have met a hooker before, but they didn't tell me they were a hooker. What does he do on his lives? Well, I read the chat, I respond to it. Sometimes I do chores or tasks around here. Sometimes we talk about personality type, philosophy, politics, sports, art, music. Sometimes I play little songs. Sometimes I complain about things, depending on my mood. Sometimes I'm like, fuck yeah, let's party. Other times I'm like, be here, I'm all sad and depressed. Those are my favorite strings. I got INFJ on the MBTI test and ENFJ on some YouTube online test, and I got INFP on some random online test. Yeah, well, you can't trust those online tests at all. That's not a good way to type people. One thing we can almost certainly say about online tests, although I don't know if I could prove it per se, but more or less you can hang your hat on this, is that online tests way over diagnose intuition. So online tests are likely to tell you you're an intuitive no matter what. And part of the reason for that, I think, is because um, the people who get sexy sounding type as a result are likely to buy are more likely to buy the bonus information thing that they're selling or whatever. I think that's one of the reasons why they overestimate the likelihood of somebody being an intuitive. Well, thanks, Ryuki Floppa. I'm underrated. I didn't even know I was rated at all, so rather be underrated than unrated. ENTPs are cute. I don't know if I'm cute, but I do know that I'm adorable. I'm an adorable, pretty princess. Does that make me cute? I'm not sure. I could have gone out this morning and done all of the things I was going to do and been well back before Rachel got up. But instead, I was like, well, if we're waiting for Rachel, then she can get her clonopin at the grocery store. We have to go to Merced tomorrow for a dentist appointment anyway, so I should have just gone by myself. Now I'm unlikely to go out into town at this point. Possible though. Tell you what, there's many self-typed female ENTPs on apps, and they're sexy, and they're all most likely ESTPs in real life, or ESFPs, or ESTJs. You know, it's less likely that an introvert is going to type themselves as an ENTP, but I suppose it's possible. ISFJs might type themselves as ENTPs, like C.J. O'Connell did. It's like, listen up, all you people out there. You do not want to be an ENTP. Could be ENFPs as well. Yeah. You do not want to be an ENTP. Why would anybody want to be an ENTP? So that you too can be just this complete mess of pointless creativity that doesn't do anything. All SI types are cozy. Yeah, well, but I'm just talking about who's likely to mistype themselves as an ENTP. I think ESTJs, if they are into typology at all, which I don't think they're likely to be, but if they are, then I think they're fairly likely to mistype themselves. Because what I heard from Audra, who was an ESTJ who typed herself as an ENTP, was that, she's an ENTP who had learned how to overcome the sensory deficits and accomplish lots of things. For every million ENTPs, there's one Hunter S. Thompson. All right, well, I mean, I think Hunter S. Thompson is also a good example of why you don't want to be an ENTP. Look at his books; they're not good. Why to say? ENFJs, they're legit. They got that FE, like to please, classic feminine woman. Yeah, well, I have heard that. Well, I haven't heard this per se, but I've concluded this from observing this one ENFJ woman who's around the channel for a while. That, you know, no matter how much of a lady they might be in the streets, they're a freak in the sheets. Fear and loathing's fine, I guess. Pointless meaning of a contest or competitor without a point scored, not meaning pointless as in having little or no sense, use, or purpose, since that doesn't seem true. I mean, it does seem true to me because, like, I guess the thing is, for me to feel as though my creative activity has a point, it needs to manifest into a completed project of some kind, at least that. And I've got so much stuff that never manifests into any kind of completed project. That causes me to feel like, what am I doing? But I never know what I'm doing until I get there. So, it's like, how am I going to know what I'm doing? I spent a lot of time this morning messing around on the piano, but also listening to some previous things that I started and never did anything with. Like, I would like to do something with the walking song, probably. It seems like a good beat, And that's where it comes down to, like, you need some NI to decide what is the one good thing, right? If you eventually complete a project, you'll feel like everything had a point, even the things that didn't make it into the project. Well, yeah, I don't know. I've changed in my ways somewhat, right? I'm more strict with myself about what deserves to be completed, but that manifests mostly as just me not completing anything. It used to be I felt like if I started working on a song and I could just get through it and get it done, then that was desirable in and of itself. But I don't really feel that way anymore. Yeah, Noam Chomsky's an idiot. Don't get me started on Noam Chomsky. The guy is such a tard. He made this film at one point a long time ago, and it was purportedly about how corporations were controlling the media. All he did in the whole film was put things next to each other and say, "You intuit the link like I did." No, Noam Chomsky, that's not how you think, fucktard. God, I hate that guy. And Trump is not a fascist, you know? I think we have to be honest about Trump, right? He's an idiot, a populist, not an ideologue. And also, as far as actual impacts to the country, his presidencies, both of them, have been fairly mild in terms of impacts, as was Biden's. You know, compared against George W. Bush and Obama, they're much, much worse presidents in terms of impacts. No, listen, you're just being an ideologue too, MC 1970 MC. What we need is a clear-thinking, dispassionate rationalist who's correct about specific policy matters without trying to apply a boogeyman frame like you're doing, where you have the boogeymen who are the fascists and you got the good guys who are the progressives. No good thing ever came from that garbage, so stop it. Play too is an important part of being in the studio as a creative person. Trying things is important. Trying things leads to a lot of incompletion. That's true. I appreciate you validating my my bad SE. I was a professional debate coach. What is Trump's personality type? I believe he's ESFP. Of course, being a debate coach means I prepped out many cases on many topics on both sides of many policy matters. So accordingly, I understand how one ought to think about public policy and politics, how our citizen democracy ought to function. And accordingly, I know that no substantive discussion of politics ever occurs when you're talking about people. Also, when you're self trained, practicing creative activities is very isolated. You get very little feedback on your work. You don't get a sense of how close you are to meeting goals. You have been baker? I've never been a baker. I said I was a debate coach, competition debate coach. I guess that sounds kind of like baker. I got this temporary denture in my mouth that's messing with how I speak, so I can be a little hard to understand right now. It's annoying to me to have it in my mouth, but I just have to be tough, get used to it, just ride it out until I get the final product in. I think I faded any infection at this point. I took the last of the antibiotics today. What's this? Oh, those are those things. I don't need those. I never needed this at all. They gave me these pain pills, but I never even needed to take Tylenol. I mean, I took a couple Tylenol, like maybe the first day or something, but just kind of as preventative. I mean, I can speak clearly enough, but I have to compensate. Like I I'm hopeful that when this is all done, I will be back at full strength, full power, be able to just be like blah 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 blah. Yeah, sometimes I mumble too. Some people say that he's ESTP or ENTJ or ESTJ. A lot of thoughts. Yeah, I don't think he's any of those things because, for one thing, his relationship with language is much more that of an ESFP. Talk is cheap, and he doesn't believe that you should use words to convey meaningful justifications and information about things, right? He's doing this job that requires both intuition and good thinking skills without either. So it's understandable that he's like, everyone kind of goes like, what in the world is this guy doing? What is he thinking? Like, he's so haphazard all over the place with things, and things he prioritizes is worth doing or not. Just, of course, one thing that you got to give him credit for is he does not care what people think at all, right? Like, if he's convinced this is the right thing to do, he's going to do it. It doesn't matter how much opposition he faces. So nobody can accuse him of being that kind of politician who points whichever way the political winds blow, right? You can also not accuse him of being an ideologue because that requires some concept of an ideology that you're trying to be consistent with. Gumption? I mean, you could call that gumption. I'm not really sure what it is. It's just Trumpiness. The guy's successfully proved his entire life that not only is sometimes nothing a pretty cool hand, all of the time it's the best hand. It's like the guy has never had any good talent, reason to be successful, anything like that, right? He's always just been this idiot who has one thing going for him. He's absolutely convinced that he's a very stable genius who is both very successful, even if he's not, even when he's not, who's a financial genius, even when he's like going bankrupt and not paying his bills and shit, who's a TV star, who's qualified to be president, all these things. He has nothing. He has none of those things except his own just completely unwarranted conviction that he does. It's kind of crazy, right? It's like, who would have thought being stubbornly moronic was the path to the presidency and the biggest success in the world, Stubbornly ignoring any reality you don't like. That's his strategy. Like, whatever I don't like does not exist. The reality that I like is the reality that is. I mean, the thing is, I want to remind everybody that it's very unlikely Trump would ever have been president, except that he ran against the two worst candidates in the history of America, Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. But it's like LCD Sound System says. And luck is always better than skill at things. We're flying blind. And the thing is, you wouldn't even say that Trump is lucky per se at all. He's just Dewey. He just does stuff. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do, is just do something. Like his strategy it wasn't a strategy, just how he is, I think. But in his first term, he'd do something, pissed a bunch of people off, and just as everyone was getting all together to get all mad about that thing, and he'd just do something else that pissed off other people, and then the first thing was forgotten about. He did that for 4 years. When in doubt, kick the anthill again. I don't know. And it's also the case that at least a couple of the things that he's wanted to do, I thought were a terrible idea, and it turned out fine. So, in some ways, he knows certain things about certain kinds of things better than I do too, But just like I have my attentional strengths, he has his. I really don't like the way he dealt with Ukraine at all. I guess that makes me the warmonger. Sometimes you gotta go put your foot down, And Trevor Tripicles likes Trump. And Trevor Tripicles very well might like Trump. It's possible. But Trevor Tripicles is more into vices than he is into chaos, I think. Are you done? Can I leave here now? Difficult cat. I feel like I just wasted this whole day. Craving a drink, but it's only 2:15. Yeah, well, my dad had a rule: never drink before 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I don't remember. It was either 5 or 6. ESFPs aren't any more racist than anybody else. Trump has this weird hatred of Mexicans. Why? I don't know. But that's a Trump thing, not an ESFP thing. Like, no type is more likely to be criminal than another type. Criminality is a matter of character, right? So is hate. It is the case that some types are probably more egalitarian than others. And some types are more likely to see monolithic groups than others. But I think that links with NISI stuff. Melvin, brother of the Joker. Hello. Maybe it's just another scapegoat. Scapegoat is convenient. Yeah, well, scapegoats are convenient if you don't want to solve a problem. If you don't want to deal with politics like an adult, because it's boring, which it is, then it's convenient to think that politics is about blaming the guys that aren't my team and promoting the guys that are my team. Oh, look at that, I'm doing politics. No, you're just doing, like, I don't know, like, Mrs. Jensen's 5th grade class is the best. Mr. Jenkins' 5th grade class is shitty compared to Mrs. Jenkins' 5th grade class. And that kind of stuff. Really not any point to it. Me and my glasses have a bad relationship. I think they're abusive. They're constantly ditching me, leaving me high and dry in the lurch. I can't even find them. Where did I put them? I got these glasses, but these are not the glasses I'm looking for. These are the droids I'm looking for. Hi, Ike. Passing through. Catch you all later. See you later, Ike. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Blue types? What? I don't know about blue types. Well, the thing is, I don't want to have a basically a part of my body, my eyes, that requires me to keep track of an object. It's ridiculous. And I have no idea where I put my glasses down. There. That's bigger now. But that won't help when I'm not in front of the window out there. So where did I put my orange glasses? This is the question. I had them earlier in the stream. I did. I had them on my face. And I said, I like your orange glasses. I like them too. I mean, I don't really like the way they look, but I like they're the right strength. Right magnification. I was like, what could I possibly have done with them? What could I possibly have done with them? Where have they even gone that I could have put them down in? Are they? No, those are those glasses. Did I put them in the bathroom? I didn't even go in the bathroom. I have no fucking idea where I put them. There's not any place they could possibly be. What the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? Got myself a pack of American Spirits. We got stuck in San Francisco traffic, so I had to reward myself. San Francisco is hard on bladder. Practically no bathroom until you make it out of town. Yeah, I would have figured that not out there, Gil. I am capable of figuring out an occasional typo. Well, I want that non-alcoholic beer. We got no coffee. And I've lost my glasses. What else is going to go wrong today? That's it? Okay, well, that's fair then. That's a fair amount of things to go wrong. But this glasses thing is just too much of a mystery. Because There's not any place I could have put them. That I haven't already looked. When I go back inside, and go to the bathroom when I go back inside, and then maybe I'll start doing a little cleaning, and maybe if I'm cleaning, my glasses will appear. I keep checking the pockets of this jacket thinking they must be in here, but they're not. They're right here. Oh my God. Oh my God. They were right there the whole time. Oh. Okay. I want to go back to being like 25 years old physically. So I don't have to have any glasses at all. You still haven't found them, but they're in the car somewhere? One of those kind of cars, huh? The rental cars like that too. This Nissan Versa is quite a nice car. If you're in the market for to buy a new car, I highly recommend the Nissan Versa because they're quite cheap for a 2025 new car. It's $17,000, which is not too bad for a brand new car in 2025. But it's got lots of nifty features on it too. Like it's got this thing where when you have the high beams on and somebody comes towards you with their lights on, it automatically puts them on low beams, then puts them back on high beams when you pass them. This is Mariposa again, yes. Mariposa, Mariposa, day and night, it's Mariposa. So one of the tasks I want to do is to light the sticks on fire. All these sticks here. We also want to sweep the driveway. There's some trash inside the house I could take out as well. I need to sweep in the dining room because that's where I did all the wheat processing now. You could use a Nissan Versa in the mountains just fine. Rachel's fine. She's in bed because she's recovering from Adderall. Yeah, I have paved road. If I can, I like the Mini Cooper a little better, I guess, because, well, I mean, actually, I'm not really sure I like the Mini Cooper better than that Versa, but it does handle better. A Mini Cooper is great for windy roads. You can go fast on them and never like squeal your tires or anything. And having a stick shift is good in the mountains because you don't burn through brakes. How's Jerry the neighbor? He's good. I saw him Saturday night. We played music together at the Christmas party and hung out, chatted a bit. His wife's going to Australia for a while, a couple months or something. And I'm thinking we'll probably see a little bit more of him once she does, because it might get lonely, you know. Yes, now I'm outside. Yeah, I mean, the Mini Cooper is a little more well suited for you know, my Mini's over 10 years old, and uh, obviously, new car has certain advantages. As this as this repair job slash rental car bill keeps increasing, and so I don't I called the repair shop to see if hopefully maybe the part I purchased and had shipped to them has gotten there, but it has not, and I'm not even sure it's shipped yet. Windy coastal roads sketch me out. You make one mistake and you plummet. Yeah, well, we've got plenty of roads like that around my house too. Uh, on the highway, anyway. There's a number of stretches along there where there's no guardrail and there's a cliff on the side. So I try to be careful driving. I'm glad I don't drink alcohol. I'm a pretty chill driver. Yeah, I drive a stick shift. Yeah, I made the stick, and that's kind of good because apparently somebody was telling me the other day that they have more longevity as cars in general. Yeah, you got to replace the clutch, but um, it makes more sense to repair old Mini like I got if it's a stick shift. That's what somebody told me. I gotta put these boards down in the shed. Maybe that's step one. Oh, that's right. I was gonna go to the bathroom. Actually, I need to do some unscrewing here. I could do that. I got the drill out. Boy, I'm not feeling very motivated. Auto manufacturers would phase them out if not for the remaining demand. I was surprised when I went to check out that Mini to buy it. I was surprised that it was a stick shift. I drove down there because I saw there was a Mini Cooper for I think it was $12,000, maybe 14. It was pretty inexpensive, I thought, at the time for a Mini Cooper. It wasn't that old at the time, you know. And when I got there, I was like, "Oh, it's a stick shift. Okay, well, I know how to drive a stick. Maybe I could go for a stick shift." And I did. My dad made me learn how to drive a stick shift, and as the first kind of car I learned how to drive in Mammoth on hills. We went to these roads like in the summer, back by where the ski lifts and stuff are. There's not really any traffic. There's hills. And made me go up the hill, stop, go again, stop, go again. So I get used to not to be able to do that on the hill. Like that's how he started me. So the first thing I learned when driving was how to drive a stick shift up a hill from a dead stop, you know. Nowadays, well, it's my car, the Mini, it has this thing where if you are facing uphill and you're at a stop and then you put it in gear to go, it doesn't go backwards a little bit first. It compensates for it or something. I don't know why. I don't know how they do it. I mean, I know why. I just don't know how they do that. The why is pretty straightforward. They do that because they don't want people going backwards into some other car at a stoplight. Perfectly reasonable thing to want. Air quotes is an acorn. Yeah, I use air quotes. Technically, they're called scare quotes, but sometimes why people call them air quotes because people do it in the air. Mm-hmm. Oh, the scare quote? The air quotes is actually an acorn. That's an example of a word that makes sense, but it isn't that thing. I made a short about how air quotes is an acorn. They're called scare quotes with an SC on the front of it. Maybe they should be called air quotes, though. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna let you guys soak in a little Christmas spirit while I go to the bathroom. And then maybe I'll wrap this up pretty soon. Make some errands or something. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want my mouth to be writing checks that my body can't cash. that was pretty good. That was a good job I did of going poo. And P, you're so tired today? Today is a little bit of a yeah. Nobody's gonna die. Trouble, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm not going in there and watching you eat again. Alright, I guess I'm gonna wrap up this live stream. And maybe run into town. So I'll see you on the flip flop.